Bonjour, cette vidéo est sponsorisée par Babel. More about them a little bit later. How are drug cartels using drones? On February 11, 2026, the Federal Aviation Administration dropped a temporary flight restriction on El Paso, Texas. No commercial, cargo, or general aviation flights within a 10-mile circle around the airport up to 18,000 feet. The original NOTAM said it would last 10 days. Then, the next morning, the FAA lifted it, and then there was no threat to commercial aviation. So what happened? Good thing for you, I live the intel life. And yes, you can get this hoodie at bunkerbranding.com. Now, depending on who you listen to, it was either cartel drones or it was an anti-drone laser test at Fort Bliss that spooked the FAA, or it was literally a party balloon that got mistaken for a drone. That sounds messy, because it's messy. But the important part here is that the cartel drone explanation spread fast because it's plausible. Mexican cartels have been using drones for more than a decade. They started with smuggling, moving into surveillance, and then because humans ruin everything, they graduated to dropping explosives. Today, I'm going to talk about how cartels are using drones, why it works, why this problem is a lot harder than just shoot it down. And by the way, if you want to learn more about cartels, it would be helpful if you could speak Spanish, and you should be using Babbel. You know, a lot of people on YouTube talk like this, including me, but this isn't my real accent. Believe it or not, this is actually my real accent. I like to joke that I grew up in New Jersey, so English isn't my official language. This is how I really talk. But I've been learning French because it's one of NATO's 2 official languages. Look, Americans are already behind the freaking 8 ball right now when we travel internationally. If you want to learn a few phrases of a language, it might help America's image a little bit. I chose Babbel because I don't want games. I want something that actually works. You can select your learning path. In my case, I selected business French because I'm dealing with NATO. Babbel is an award-winning language app designed by over 200 language experts. It's like having a private tutor in your pocket. I like that Babbel lets me practice real conversations with an AI partner because business French is what I need pour les réunions d'affaires. Babbel has over 25 million subscriptions sold and 1.6 million 5-star reviews. And yeah, that checks out. If you want to start speaking a new language in 3 weeks, click the link below, go to babbel.com/Macbeth, get up to 55% off your subscription. That's babbel.com/Macbeth, get up to 55% off. And I actually checked, they don't have New Jersey as a language, but there's plenty others to choose from. When most people picture cartel smuggling and think of tunnels or hidden compounds, a classic guy with a backpack running through the desert, drones are different. A drone is basically a flying courier that doesn't get nervous at checkpoints. One of the early, oh, okay, we're doing this now moments happened in January of 2015. A drone crashed in Tijuana with more than 6 pounds of methamphetamine taped to it. The drone didn't make it, but the idea sure did, and it got more professional. In 2017, U.S. authorities tracked a drone that crossed the border near San Ysidro and followed it into a neighborhood. The operator was caught with 13 pounds of methamphetamine, and the drone was a DJI Matrix 600. And that's the drone smuggling model kind of in a nutshell. Small loads compared to a truck or like a tunnel, but fast and repeatable, and it doesn't require a smuggler walking drugs into the U.S. And also, this is the key. Nobody built the border to stop drones the size of a pizza box. And even when you know the drones are out there, measuring the problem is hard. Officials can only guess at scale, in part because you need sensors and trained observers, and traditional radars struggle to see low, small drones. One more complication, you may not have a signal to chase either. You know, drones can fly autonomously, checking out GPS waypoints, so there may be very little control signal to trace back to an operator if they're flying autonomously. So no, drones don't replace tunnels, but they just have to be good enough for high-value, low-weight cargo. If you want to understand cartel drones, stop thinking Air Force or even war in Ukraine and start thinking about security camera, because that's actually where it becomes more beneficial. ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. Before drones, cartels used lookouts, helicones, to watch roads and call out where police and soldiers are moving. Now you can see the same thing with a quadricopter and a thermal camera. In March 2023, Customs and Border Protection described a human smuggling case where agents later discovered that drone footage to the smugglers recorded the Border Patrol agents during a migrant crossing incident near Otay Mesa. And CBP called this kind of drone surveillance a growing trend. That's not a one-off, that's a tactic, and it shows up in the numbers. In a March 14, 2024 Senate Armed Services Committee posture hearing, a general from Northcom said drone incursions at the southern border were in the thousands, and they probably have over 1,000 a month. Separately, CBS News reported the government data showed more than 27,000 drones detected within 500 meters of the southern border in the last half of 2024. Now, that doesn't mean 27,000 cartel drones carrying bombs. Some of these are hobbyists, and some of them are idiots. But it does tell you that the airspace problem is real. As for cartels, surveillance drones are a force multiplier. It's ISR. They can spot patrol patterns. They can watch a roadblock from a safe distance. They can check whether a sensor hit was a human or a cow. War on the Rocks noted that cartel drone use moved from smuggling into surveillance, and that nighttime drone use, often with thermal cameras, has been part of this for years. So when you hear the words cartel drone, don't automatically picture a bomb. Picture a guy in a car, maybe flying a drone over the river and watching agents like it's a Twitch stream. Now, once you fly a drone over something, the leap goes from drop drugs to drop explosives. It's not a giant leap. It's a very depressing short hop. El País reports that one of the first documented cases of an armed drone in Mexico goes back to October 2017, when a commercial quadricopter equipped with an improvised explosive device was seized during a traffic stop. By April of 2021, this wasn't theoretical anymore. Mexico's Justice in Mexico program described an incident in Michoacan where police officers were attacked by drones rigged with explosives, leaving 2 officers wounded. Even the U.S. Congressional Research Service has flagged growing concern about cartels using weaponized drones to attack police and rivals. And from there, the tech and the tactics spreads fast. Armament Research Service, or ARES, reports that Mexican cartels have used drones to deliver explosive munitions since at least 2017, and that in 2023, there were 260 documented cases where drones were used this way. Mexico's own numbers are brutal. A 2025 Policy Center paper cites Sedena reporting that over 493 cartel drone attacks between 2022 and mid-2023 often used commercial drones like the Mavic, Avata type, equipped with grenades or improvised explosive devices. It also mentions a Jalisco New Generation cartel attack in Michoacan in April of 2024 and an attempted first-person view strike in April of 2025. And yeah, FPV drones like you've seen in Ukraine are a thing in Mexico now. El País describes these kamikaze FPV narco drones that detonate on impact, reports prices in the hundreds of dollars. And that matters because it changes the economics of violence. We've already seen cartels experiment with drones as bombers, not just single drop devices. The Warzone reported a video showing a drone hovering over a camp and dropping multiple munitions in Michoacan. So the arc kind of looks like this: smuggling small packages, watching enemies and police, dropping explosives, and experimenting with FPV strike drones and multi-drop bombers. That's an innovation cycle you normally associate with state militaries. But cartels don't have a procurement bureaucracy. They have cash, they have YouTube. Let's talk incentives. If a cartel wants to move drugs, drones have 4 big advantages. Number 1, they lower risk to personnel. No driver, no mule, no one to physically walk drugs into the U.S. They're cheap and disposable. You lose a drone, okay, you lost a drone, not an entire smuggling crew. And nobody is there to testify or turn state's witness. Number 3, it's hard to detect. Small drones fly low and slow. They can blend into clutter. And number 4, it scales with the tech market. Cartels don't have to invent drones. They just buy them commercially off the shelf and adapt them. Once both sides have drones, you get an arms race. Ares notes that cartels are employing counter-drone gear against rivals and government UAVs. And El País reports that cartel factions are investing in anti-drone technology. So it's not just who has drones, it's who can keep their drones flying while stopping the other guys. The same logic applies to weaponized drones. Let a group hit targets without committing large numbers of personnel, and you can try again tomorrow with another $500 quadricopter. So let's get back to El Paso. Now, Reuters reported that El Paso Airspace shutdown was tied to a bureaucratic conflict over a U.S. Army laser-based counter-drone system that was being tested at Fort Bliss. Reuters also notes that the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, blamed a cartel drone incursion, but that drone sighting near the airport would typically mean a brief pause, not like a 10-day shutdown. So even in the best case, where this was like a balloon that floated across the border or a misunderstood test, the incident tells you something. We don't have clean, well-practiced playbooks for drones in sensitive airspace. And the scale is not small. All along the border, military leadership has testified that incursions can run at over 1,000 a month. And there's also a reason that airports panic. You can't just start jamming or shooting in the middle of a city and hope that nothing bad happens. Even when you do have a detection hit, the response authority is usually a patchwork. Only a handful of federal departments are authorized to detect, track, or disable drones, while state and local agencies are largely powerless, even when a drone threatens civilian sites like airports or stadiums. And even if you disable a drone, you have to worry about where it falls. Rule number 4 of shooting, know your target and what's behind it. If that drone falls on a person's house, or it hits a car, or even hits a person, now you have a lawsuit. So the realistic answer looks boring, but it's true. We need better detection, we need better coordination between FAA, DoD, or I guess Department of War, DHS, and local authorities, and we need clear authorizations for counter-drone actions when drones show up near civilian infrastructure. Because if cartels treat the air as a smuggling lane, then border security has to treat the air as a border, which isn't really something they're outfitted to do. So whether El Paso was a cartel drone, a balloon, a laser test gone sideways, the underlying reality is the same. Cartels have turned cheap drones into tools for smuggling, surveillance, and attack. They're iterating fast because the commercial drone market is iterating fast. The airspace over the border used to be a rounding error when it came to smuggling, but it isn't anymore. Hey, you want breakdowns like this? You can help fund the channel at ryanmcbeth.substack.com. Grab my Intel Life hoodie from Bunker Branding. Thank you so much for watching.
In a world where fashion meets firepower, where style becomes strategy, it's time to gear up for the ultimate mission with Bunker Branding. Introducing the Rock Out With Your Chalk Out t-shirt, a tribute to the fearless air cavalry. Feel the adrenaline rush as you don the pride of the skies. For those of you who dare from the air, precision and power unite when you think outside the bomb. And don't miss our Live, Laugh, Launch t-shirts for Patriot and HIMARS, because sometimes defending freedom means bringing the thunder. Finally, for the true defender of the seas, we present Department of the Boat People. Sail with honor and show your allegiance to the world's mightiest maritime force. With these shirts, hoodies, and stickers, along with the tow missile, landmines, and drone warfare. These aren't just shirts, they're statements. They're your way of saying I stand for strength, unity, and style. Get yours at Bunker Branding today.